We are diving into a detailed response to J.D. Greear's objections to his portrayal in Megan Basham's Shepherds for Sale book. So firstly, Greear disagrees with how his sermon, where he said the Bible whispers about sexual sin, was depicted, right? Now, he did later revise his stance after a couple of years of pushback, but the original sermon did speak to this and very clearly was not just talking about the tone with which we talk about things, but the regularity. But the reality is that in his original sermon, he was clearly saying that the church needs to tone down what it's saying about this, as opposed to speak up when the world very much is speaking up. His disagreement is pretty invalid. Next, Greear says that he didn't actually really push for the Southern Baptist Convention to change its name, but he did make the term "We Are Great Commission Baptists" the theme of the 2021 convention when he was president, and he said that his own church would adopt this name. In multiple interviews with major media outfits like the Washington Post, he expressed the desire for a denominational name change. If that was inaccurate, why didn't he talk about it then? Greear also retired the gavel linked to Robert E. Lee's chaplain John Broadus during a time when the nation was talking about getting rid of Confederate symbols. Now, he says now that that was an unrelated decision, just totally coincidental, right? Maybe he just really, really loved other gavels, big fan of them. Or maybe it was a little bit of a woke virtue signal. Greear also objects to the claim that he used CRT anti-racist type terminology, but the reality is that in a roundtable discussion, he used the Aspen Institute's glossary to depict dismantling structural racism, which is just classic CRT terminology. And there's the whole thing on BLM and whether or not he endorsed it. He says he distanced himself from the movement whilst affirming the slogan, and of course the slogan in and of itself is pretty hard to disagree with, right? But the reality is that he did seem to affirm many of its sort of more acceptable aspects. Looking at policing again, he did clarify that he didn't support their goals, but he did seem to endorse key elements of the movement as a whole and was clearer about that than perhaps his disagreements with them. Finally, he disputes the claim that he set racial quotas for SBC leadership positions. He insists that his commitment to having 2/3 of appointees being either female or minorities is not a quota. That's exactly what a quota is by definition. That's a quota, mate, like it or not. So in summary, look, his objections are all about how his actions and words were perceived rather than any real factual inaccuracies with what Megan Basham said. If you want to find out more for yourself, read the book Shepherds for Sale by Megan Basham. It's a great book. Read it.